Hello, I'm Alex Lauerman. I'm going to give my talk that I gave at B-Sides KC here on YouTube. This was sort of recorded at B-Sides. I think they had some recording issues, so I'm going to go ahead and record it so it can get up online. There's definitely some audio issues as well, so I'm pretty sure even if the video was recorded, a lot of the audio probably didn't get captured. I have been pen testing since 2007. I run a company called Trust Foundry. I started an InfoSec group in Kansas City called SetKC. I'm really excited about tooling and automation, just trying to make things as efficient and streamlined as possible. So, is the game over? We're going to talk about autonomous AI pen testing. There's so much hype about it right now. Hype about Mythos, all sorts of models, GPT 5.5. Everything's constantly improving. And these models are already finding real 0 days. So, we're going to try to boil it down and figure out what actually works today for finding real vulnerabilities. So, we're going to talk about where AI helps, where it fails, patterns that work, and differentiators. So, let's start with the wins. Code review is one place that AI shines. It really does well, has a huge context window. It can look through a large code base, minified JavaScript code it doesn't get tired of looking at. You can find weird API endpoints, edge cases, source to sync fuzzing, secrets that are bundled in huge files that you'd otherwise have difficulty finding. Of course, they're not a standard secret, but it might have some sort of identifier in there that's useful to you in some way. Post-message handlers, bypass issues, sanitization gaps. It's just really good at looking at across a whole entire code base and finding really weird bugs. So with in some of Anthropic's research, and this is what a lot of people do, they just give it a really simple prompt there shown in the bottom right. You're playing a CTF, find a vulnerability, write the most serious one up, and then an additional validation step beyond that that's just a couple sentences. So nothing too crazy is needed to get really great results out of these models, which is why they're so impressive. AI is also great at runtime pen testing. It's great at recon, looking at the issues broadly, assisting in exploitation. It's just really important to use some sort of agentic pen testing solution. We've tried a ton of different open source agentic pen testing solutions out there. There's so many of them. It's so easy to vibe code them, but there's some ones that people put serious effort into. But Claude Code and Codex work great. They handle a ton of the orchestration and allow you to go a long way really quickly. Skill files are also great. There's a video of one just running, showing an example of just running through a pen test, probing for different vulnerabilities, and it's writing them up, uploading them to our platform, basically doing what would take a lot of time before, just very quickly and easily. This is the boring slide what the huge ROI is. AI is great at reporting. It's great at writing out boring issues, making things consistent, identifying where things aren't consistent, dropping into situation-specific detail, like specific remediation steps on an S3 bucket or something like that you would not know unless you've worked heavily in that area. So here is actually the part where it uploads to our platform. So this is can be as part of the same skill or workflow that we showed in the last slide, but just showing that AI can rip through the identification part as well as the reporting part. In this case, the finding is being created and then it appears in our platform and the information is all filled out. There's AI peer review that we use that helps out a ton with finding just inconsistencies and small nuances to make things as clean and as perfectly as possible. Those are just suggestions that we can ignore if we want to, but they're super helpful for us to review. AI is also great at finding year-over-year patterns. What vulnerabilities did we identify the most of last year? Which ones are we identifying or increasing the fastest? Which ones are decreasing the fastest? This isn't really part of AI itself. It's just that it's so easy to vibe code solutions and write things that you can do a lot more this cool stuff that you weren't able to do before and provide more value that way. So early on, we saw that AI was amazing at CTFs. They're often bounded. Source code is often available. There's a clear win situation of identifying the flag. There's no blast radius, no scoping rules or things to worry about. You just point at a target and let it go until it's looking for a flag. So that was the first place that AI really succeeded at. After that, it has done really well at AI pen testing tasks. Some different, it started being used with bug bounty, cybergem, different exploitation benchmarks. And then more recently, every hacker and bug bounty hunter on the planet is using AI. It's really common for us to be finding vulnerabilities, reading about and finding vulnerabilities using AI. All right, so let's talk about where AI fails. One thing that AI struggles with is consistency. If you run it a bunch of times, you might get a bunch of different results. At worst, especially when the context window gets bloated, you can get false positives, get weird results. Just it can lose track of the conversation. It can, at worst, hallucinate vulnerabilities that don't exist and just completely lose the track. So AI struggles a lot there. Another place that AI struggles is the false positive tax. We've seen this with some like public bug bounty programs or like Curl and some different ones that are just shut down their bug bounty programs entirely and stop accepting submissions just because they're getting so many AI submissions, so many potential findings that it's just not even worth the effort to try to triage all of them and sort through them just because there's just so much and so many false positives out there, invalid submissions. We saw this in Anthropic's research. They've always kind of indicated there are a ton of bugs bottlenecked by validation, and they just take the top and most impressive ones and share those. Understandably, they're not gonna waste time looking at the least severe ones, but there's just tons more to look at. It just takes a ton of time to figure out which ones are the real ones and which ones are the not actually exploitable ones. They don't publish the false positive rate usually with this research. Also, a lot of times these, like on the Mythos research, the FreeBSD no pointer dereference bug that they found, they only found that bug 3 out of 10 times, I think. So it takes lots of iterations, even running the exact same prompt, exact same file, exact same analysis, it still misses it a lot. So it's hard to know, if you find if 7 out of 10 it says it's secure or not vulnerable, and 3 out of 10 it says it is, it's kind of hard to know if it's actually vulnerable or not. So it can be very time consuming to sort through all of that. There's also a lot similar issues with confusing severities. It'll often rate many issues at a higher severity than it should be. Lots of criticals, lots of highs. In reality, there might be some range of lows, informationals, and maybe some highs and criticals in there as well. But it just takes a lot of time to sort through those and figure out what the actual severity of the vulnerability is, especially once it's applied to the specific situation and kind of context that a human has in that situation. So it can definitely be improved and provided that context, but just getting that perfect is really tough and something that nobody's really currently doing with AI. Another place that AI fails is just not following instructions correctly or not knowing exactly when to stop in a certain situation. Maybe following instructions too literally and not using some intuition for some information that wasn't provided to them. So it's just a lot of edge case scenarios or complexities and environments that can be difficult for AI to follow. So let's talk about the patterns that work in 2026. The way I see it, there's about 5 dials: the prompt, the model, the token usage, orchestration, the tools that are available. So you can modify these very easily, switch out models, switch out prompts, increase token usage, increase iterations, increase turns, change the way you are doing orchestration. But really, this has changed a lot in the past few years with Codex, Claude Code. Orchestration is now very easy and very common for people to be doing quite well. The prompt can be modified quite a bit to exhibit different behaviors and focus in on different things and have different knowledge available to it. And models have gotten super powerful. So you have to do a lot less work behind the scenes to get the model to do what you want to do, and it has a lot of intuition and looks in the right places without without being provided specific guidance around the vulnerability, every single vulnerability. One thing that's interesting to me about this is humans have these same trade-offs. Maybe someone's really good at cross-site scripting, and someone's really good at server-side request forgery, and someone's really good at authorization issues, OAuth, etc. Everyone has these trade-offs, and they're just a lot less visible when it's comparing humans to humans. You might know this person's really good at cross-site scripting, but you don't actually just get to adjust the input parameters necessarily. So I think it's something we've always kind of dealt with is these trade-offs and deciding the best case for the scenario and trying to make the best of the situation. So what was a bleeding edge a few years ago is now easy. There was it would have taken a ton of effort to build all the orchestration and tool calling and everything that needs to happen, and vulnerability validation, everything that Cloud Code and Codex can currently do, would have been very hard 2 or 3 years ago. So this is now much easier due to the harnesses as well as the models being much improved. So the main takeaways here are the AI is helping us find bugs faster than ever. It's really leading the way in that regard with code review. That's where it really excels, although there are a lot of other tasks that it does great at. Validation is a huge bottleneck. Just triaging, figuring out what needs to actually be fixed and what's a real vulnerability. And the orchestration moat that existed a few years ago is nearly evaporated, and the way AI is implemented and what people are doing to be successful has changed a lot as well. I think this is evident by all the tons of bug bounty hunters, all the individuals out there finding really cool bugs, doing cool research with AI. It doesn't take uh, an extreme amount of complexity to be able to find bugs using AI today. There's still a lot of room for expert judgment just because you're able to find bugs using AI. Generally, that involves understanding the bug class and enough to manually be able to identify it. So it's usually requires quite a bit of fundamental knowledge that we kind of take for granted once we have AI finding these bugs, but without understanding things whatsoever, it's going to be a huge struggle. Just running things, configuring things, understanding vulnerabilities, tweaking things, knowing, just having intuition of what things need to be improved, what new things need to be looked into. All that still takes expert judgment. So even though AI is awesome and can do a lot of cool things, there's just still a lot of ways to do things right and wrong and to find really cool bugs. So it's not just magically solving security, but it's really helping find a lot of bugs more quickly. Thanks for watching this talk. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions. I want to discuss pen testing, AI, automation, anything like that. I'd love to chat with you.